Tonight, we travel back in time to the shadowy alleys of medieval Europe. But don't worry, you won't be sent to war or chained to a plow. Nope, you've drawn a different straw. You're a professional assassin. Congratulations. Or rather, condolences. Because despite what modern movies might have you believe, being a medieval assassin was less about cool cloaks and rooftop dives, and more about festering wounds, unpaid contracts, and an endless parade of moral ambiguity. Welcome to the worst job in the Middle Ages. Let's begin with your employer. He's not a mysterious nobleman with a secret agenda. He's probably a paranoid merchant with too many enemies and not enough gold. Or a bishop. Always be suspicious when a bishop pays in advance. You don't get health insurance. You don't get dental. But you do get a blade that rusts, boots that leak, and a reputation that will follow you into every tavern and every graveyard. You are anonymous, but you are never safe. At night, you sleep in stables. During the day, you hide among pilgrims or beggars, blending in just enough to not be remembered. But you are always watching, and always being watched. The best assassins of the time weren't the flashiest. They were the quiet ones. The ones no one noticed until it was too late. But that doesn't mean your job is easy. Forget throwing knives. Forget poison rings. Your tools are primitive. Your timing must be perfect. You must memorize the guard changes, the church bells, the way shadows fall on stone streets at different times of day. And if you fail, even once, you're not just out of work. You're dead. There is no retirement plan. There are no old assassins, only successful ones, and they don't live long. Sometimes your target is guilty, a war criminal, a traitor. Other times, it's just a rival merchant, or a woman who insulted a duke, or a child who might inherit something someone else wants. Your conscience becomes quieter over time, or louder. You learn to kill without blinking, to walk away without turning back, to pray not for forgiveness, but for forgetfulness, because every night they visit you, the faces, the ones who begged, the ones who fought, the ones who didn't see it coming. And on the nights they don't appear, you fear something worse, that they never will again. Still, you continue, because gold is gold, and someone always wants someone else gone. You are a shadow with a heartbeat, a name no one says aloud. And though the world sleeps, you do not, because someone, somewhere may be hiring, or hunting. Good night. And if someone knocks at your door tonight, don't answer. You feel the blood before the blade. Your palm stings, dripping red onto ancient stone. Around you, hooded figures hum like insects in the dark. There's no turning back, not because they won't let you, but because you've already left the world behind. The name they called you, the home you knew, the person you were, gone. You were not born an assassin, you were made into one. Maybe it was a betrayal, maybe it was hunger, maybe your village was burned, and the only man who offered you purpose was the one holding a dagger. You joined the Brotherhood not out of glory, but survival. And before your first kill, there was the oath, the blood oath. You cut your palm, let it bleed onto a black stone altar, and swore yourself to a cause you did not understand. You were young, too young, but they whispered. The world needed balancing, and you believed them. You learned to disappear in a room full of people. You were taught how to kill a man by touching only his shoulder. You learned which mushrooms could paralyze, and which could send visions. Your teacher made you fast for days to sharpen your mind. He called hunger the knife that cuts weakness. At night, you dream of home, but every morning they pull that memory further away, until the only home you recognize is the shadow. You are no longer a person, you are a tool. And that's just the beginning. A wax seal, a name written in script so delicate it feels wrong to stab it. This is how it begins. Your orders come in the dead of night, slipped beneath a door, or tucked inside a hollow tree. No questions asked, no explanations given. But sometimes, you wonder. Tonight's mark is a bishop, a man of the cloth, a man with influence, and a man whose sins, apparently, outweigh his prayers. He travels with guards, cloaked in purple and pride. But you've watched him. You know he slips away to a brothel in the old quarter. Same time, same path. Every Thursday. You watch for weeks. You map every shadow, count every guard, learn the rhythm of the street dogs who bark when anyone passes. Precision is your only friend. Then, one fog-choked night, you follow. He doesn't see you. But you see something else. A child, one of the washerwomen's boys. He sees you, just a glimpse. But he'll remember your eyes. You pause. That pause costs you everything. A guard turns. Steel flashes. You escape, but not without blood. Yours. Back at the safe house, they say nothing. They just hand you the next name, as if pain was punctuation. No matter how far you travel, you always end up in the same place. A room with creaking floorboards, candle smoke, and a bed you never trust. You don't sleep. You wait. Sometimes the innkeeper smiles too wide. Sometimes the bread tastes like ash. Every knock on the wall is a code. Every patron a spy. You drink slowly, eyes always scanning. You eat in silence. You wash only when no one else is around. You learn to find exits in every ceiling. The loneliness eats you slowly. There was a girl once. She didn't ask questions. She smiled like she knew what it cost to survive. You left before morning. You always do. Not because you wanted to, because you had to. Assassins don't get love. They get stories, and you're never the hero in any of them. Some targets scream, some pray, some say your name. The worst are the ones who smile. Tonight's kill is a poet. He writes verses against the crown. Dangerous verses, clever, beautiful. You almost admire him. Almost. He greets you before you speak, offers you wine, says he knew you were coming. He asks you to make it quick, but something about his words stay with you. He doesn't beg. He recites his final poem to you. And it is beautiful. You kill him anyway. But the rhythm of the poem never leaves you. For weeks it plays in your head. At night, when the world is quiet, you hear it louder than your own breath. One day the missions stop. No more parchment, no more coins. You wait, you travel. You ask no questions, but you feel the shift. A king died. A war ended. Peace never includes people like you. You settle in a small village, pretend to be a mason, a fisherman, anything with cracked hands and no history. But they know. The old woman at the well, the child who watches too closely, the priest who won't meet your eyes. They feel it, smell it. Death clings to you. You try to forget, but every door creak sounds like a dagger, every knock a message. You dream of names you never learned, of faces you never saw. You wake with your blade in hand, heart pounding, breath shallow. You are free, but you are never safe. You were a ghost. Now you haunt yourself. Not all jobs go as planned. You were told this mark was a spy. Dangerous, treacherous, a threat to the realm. She's none of those things. She's a baker. She feeds orphans. She's kind to stray cats. But her brother angered someone in power, and so the blade comes for her instead. You sit outside her home for 2 days. You watch her laugh, cry, kiss her child goodnight. You can't do it, but someone else can. And when she's gone, the guilt is worse than if it had been your blade, because you had a choice, and you chose silence. Sometimes the mission isn't what it seems. Tonight the client is royalty, the target, a revolutionary, or so they say. You infiltrate, you wait, you listen. What you hear chills you. The man speaks not of rebellion, but of peace, of feeding the poor, of easing taxes, of mercy. You were sent to kill a better world before it could be born. You walk away. A week later, he's dead anyway, and you're wanted for treason. Not because of what you did, but because of what you didn't. You never wrote home. But tonight, in a room lit by one candle and filled with dust, you pick up the quill. You don't know who it's for. Maybe your mother. Maybe the girl from the inn. Maybe the child who saw you. You don't sign it. You just write what you've never said aloud. I remember all of them, every face, every breath before the scream. I am not proud, I am not free, but I am still here. You leave it behind, on a desk, in a city you won't return to. Somewhere maybe someone will read it, and know you were real. You never saw your own name on parchment, until now. You know the seal, you know the ink, you know the hand that wrote it. You sit in silence, not with fear, but recognition. It was always going to end this way. A blade for every blade, a ghost for every ghost. You don't run. You clean your weapon. You walk into the night. You don't know who will find you, but you hope they're good. And when the blade comes, you don't flinch, because after all these years, you finally understand. There was never a way out, only a way through. Sleep well. Even assassins get to rest, eventually. It begins with a rumor, one you didn't start, but one that will end with blood. Your name is whispered in taverns, not your real one, the other one. The name that travels on hushed breaths and sets drinks down mid-air. They say you took out a duke in broad daylight, that you walk through walls, that you melt into shadows. You don't correct them, but rumors are dangerous, especially when they're flattering. Tonight you're hunting someone who heard the whispers and decided they'd rather pay to erase you than verify the story. You were never supposed to become a legend, just a job, and now you're someone else's problem. You return to your safe house and smell smoke, not from a chimney, from betrayal. You flee again. You thought being feared would protect you, but all it did was make you a bigger target. Sometimes the mission isn't what it seems. Tonight the client is royalty, the target a revolutionary, or so they say. You infiltrate, you wait, you listen. What you hear chills you. The man speaks not of rebellion, but of peace, of feeding the poor, of easing taxes, of mercy. You were sent to kill a better world before it could be born. You walk away. A week later, he's dead anyway, and you're wanted for treason, not because of what you did, but because of what you didn't. You never wrote home, but tonight, in a room lit by one candle and filled with dust, you pick up the quill. You don't know who it's for. Maybe your mother, maybe the girl from the inn, maybe the child who saw you. You don't sign it. You just write what you've never said aloud. I remember all of them, every face, every breath before the scream. I am not proud, I am not free, but I am still here. You leave it behind, on a desk, in a city you won't return to. Somewhere maybe someone will read it, and know you were real. There's a man in the city who carves wooden masks. No one knows his name. He lives behind a curtain and speaks through gestures. He's made 100 masks, but only one face. Yours. Somehow, he saw you. Or someone like you. A hollow-eyed creature with lips that don't move, and eyes that never blink. A shadow in the market. A whisper in the alley. You visit him only once. He hands you a mask you never ordered. It fits perfectly. And when you put it on, you feel weightless. It's easier, somehow, to be feared when no one sees your face. There's only one man in town who knows your real name. He digs graves. He's seen the names disappear from stones. He's watched nobles rot just like beggars. And he never asks questions. You sit with him sometimes, not to talk, just to exist beside someone who doesn't flinch. He offers you bread, water, silence. One day you ask him to save a plot. He nods. No name, no date, just a hole, waiting. And somehow it feels merciful. You thought death would be the end, but tonight you hear footsteps, not real ones, echoes of all the lives you ended. They follow you through forests, through towns, through sleep. At first, you thought they were guilt. Now you know better. They are memories, yours and theirs, walking alongside you, not judging, not haunting, just there. You lie down in a barn, blade across your chest. The stars blink overhead. You whisper a name you thought you'd forgotten. The footsteps pause, and for the first time, you dream without fear. Good night. No one is chasing you anymore. You walk into a marketplace where everyone wears a mask. It's not a festival, it's not a game, it's a gathering of secrets, buyers, sellers, fixers, and those like you, who trade in silence. Here, loyalty is rented by the hour, and eyes speak louder than mouths. You trade a name, you receive a location. But when you turn to leave, you catch sight of another mask, one that matches yours. Someone else has your contract, someone who looks too much like you. The abbey is old, cold, hollowed by centuries of prayer. You've come seeking refuge, maybe redemption. The monks do not speak, not from vow, but fear. They know who you are. You sleep under their roof, but it offers no shelter. Because even in a place without sin, your shadow stains the floor. And when you rise to leave, one monk follows. He doesn't ask where you're going. He only asks if you've ever wanted to stop, and you don't know how to answer. There's no clock, no bell, but you feel it. The hour between night and dawn, the hour when dreams are loudest and truth walks uncloaked. You've been given a name. It's yours. Not the one you use, the one you were born with. You sit by a dying fire and think of the house you left, the dog that waited, the song your sister sang. And then you remember, the one who gave you this name should be dead. You go anyway, because sometimes the only way to end a story is to return to where it began. The blade you carry was once used on you, left behind, forgotten, until you found it again. It's not the sharpest or the strongest, but it's yours. Tonight you use it to cut more than a throat. You carve away the names, the lies, the stories others told about you, and in its reflection, you finally see something honest. Not a killer, not a legend, just a person. And for once, that's enough. No blood, no gold. Just a night. Quiet, still. You don't sharpen your blade. You don't trace a map. You sit beneath a tree, listening to the wind. And you wonder if maybe this is what peace feels like. It doesn't last. It never does. But for one night, you remember what it's like to breathe without looking over your shoulder. And when morning comes, you're gone. Not because you're hunted, but because you finally chose to disappear.